In the heart of Europe, a shield has awakened. A shield not made of swords or castles, but of cutting-edge technology, military precision, and billions of dollars invested in one purpose: protection. This is NATO's $2 billion missile defense shield, a system designed to guard Europe's skies against threats that could change the balance of power in a single strike. But what does this shield really mean for Europe? Why now? And what dangers has it been activated to face? Join us as we uncover the hidden strategies, the silent fears, and the geopolitical calculations behind one of the most ambitious defense projects in history. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and follow our channel so you don't miss the stories shaping global security. The story of NATO's missile shield begins long before the system was activated. It stretches back to the late 1990s and early 2000s, an era when the Cold War had ended, but the world was far from safe. Emerging powers were testing ballistic missiles. Rogue states were experimenting with long-range weapons. And for Europe, caught between Russia to the east and the Middle East to the south, the skies seemed increasingly dangerous. NATO leaders knew they needed a plan. And so, the idea of a multi-layered missile defense system was born. At its core, the shield would combine radars, interceptors, and command systems scattered across Europe, linked together to detect, track, and destroy incoming missiles before they could reach their targets. It was not just a weapon. It was a message that Europe would not be defenseless. The figure is staggering: $2 billion. That's the official price tag for NATO's missile defense project. To some, it's a necessary investment, cheap compared to the cost of devastation from a missile strike. To others, it's a controversial symbol of militarization, fueling tensions with Russia and beyond. But what does $2 billion actually buy? State-of-the-art radar systems capable of tracking missiles the moment they launch. Interceptor missiles, rockets designed not to carry explosives, but to smash incoming threats out of the sky at unimaginable speeds. Command centers that fuse data from across NATO nations, creating a real-time map of the skies. Every dollar spent represents a layer of protection, a calculation of survival. And as the shield was being built, the threats it was designed to counter were evolving too. For years, NATO spoke cautiously about the shield's purpose. Officially, it was to guard against rogue missile launches from unstable regimes or non-state actors capable of chaos. But in reality, everyone knew the shadow looming over Europe's security: Russia. Moscow viewed the shield with suspicion. Russian officials claimed it was not a defensive project at all, but rather an attempt to undermine their nuclear deterrent. And as NATO built radar sites in places like Romania and Poland, the Kremlin grew louder in its warnings. At the same time, threats from the Middle East escalated. Iran's ballistic missile program was advancing. Syria and other conflict zones became potential flashpoints. Europe was suddenly surrounded by dangers that could strike with little warning. The shield was no longer just an idea, it was a necessity. The moment finally came. NATO leaders announced that the missile shield was active. For the first time, Europe had a fully functional defensive umbrella: radars scanning the skies, interceptors ready for launch, and a command network linking military bases from Spain to Turkey. The announcement was met with both relief and alarm. NATO officials called it a defensive measure designed to protect our citizens, but in Moscow, voices grew louder. This is a provocation. This is a threat to stability. The activation didn't just turn on radars, it ignited a new chapter in geopolitical rivalry. It's tempting to see NATO's missile shield as an impenetrable wall. But the reality is more complex. The shield can detect and intercept many types of ballistic missiles. It can defend against short and medium-range attacks. It can track launches across thousands of kilometers. But experts warn it cannot stop every missile. It cannot prevent saturation attacks, where multiple warheads are launched at once. And it cannot replace diplomacy in preventing war. The shield is powerful, yes, but it is not invincible. If you're finding this documentary eye-opening, hit the like button so more people can understand the realities behind the headlines. Why spend billions on this shield? Because for NATO, the stakes are higher than ever. Europe sits at the crossroads of global tensions, between a resurgent Russia, a volatile Middle East, and new powers rising in Asia. The shield is not just about stopping missiles. It's about reassurance. It's about telling NATO citizens that their governments are prepared. It's about deterring adversaries from even thinking of launching an attack. And it's about unity. Because this shield isn't owned by one country, it's a collective project with contributions from across NATO members. In many ways, it is the ultimate symbol of shared defense. The shield is active. The radars are turning. The interceptors stand ready. But this is not the end of the story, only the beginning. Because a shield is only as strong as the threats it can withstand. And in the skies above Europe, the challenges are multiplying. The Kremlin wasted no time in responding to NATO's announcement. Russian officials declared the missile shield a direct challenge to their nuclear deterrent. They warned that new missile systems would be developed, faster, stealthier, harder to intercept. And soon, those warnings turned into reality. Russia unveiled its Iskander missiles, capable of striking NATO bases in minutes. It showcased hypersonic weapons, traveling at speeds beyond the reach of current defenses. And it began modernizing its nuclear arsenal, ensuring it could still threaten Europe despite the shield. For every move NATO made, Moscow countered with one of its own. The shield had not ended the arms race. It had escalated it. Behind the steel, radar dishes, and billion-dollar contracts lies a truth often forgotten: the human element. For NATO's missile shield to function, thousands of personnel are required. Engineers to maintain the radars, technicians to monitor skies in real time, commanders to make split-second decisions, launch or hold fire. In training facilities across Europe, NATO soldiers rehearse scenarios. A missile launch detected, a countdown of seconds, a decision that could save or cost millions of lives. The system may be automated, but it is humans who bear the responsibility. And with responsibility comes pressure. Imagine the weight of knowing that if you push the wrong button, the skies could ignite in war. $2 billion. It's a number repeated like a mantra. But is it enough? Military analysts argue that in reality, the true cost of NATO's missile defense project may exceed $20 billion over decades when maintenance, upgrades, and expansions are included. Because technology never stands still. Today's radar is tomorrow's outdated sensor. Today's interceptors may be powerless against hypersonic missiles in 10 years. The shield is not a one-time investment, it's a living system demanding constant upgrades and funding. So has Europe bought security or a financial black hole? The debate rages on. The shield may be in Europe, but its consequences are global. In Washington, U.S. officials praise NATO's defense posture. It complements America's own missile defenses systems in Alaska and Asia. In Beijing, Chinese strategists take notes. If NATO can build such a shield, what does it mean for China's own deterrent? And in the Middle East, nations like Iran watch closely, knowing their missile programs are one of the reasons this shield was justified in the first place. The ripple effects are undeniable. NATO's decision to activate its $2 billion shield is not just European news. It is a global shift in the balance of defense. Military projects are never purely military. They are political. Within Europe, not every citizen supports the shield. Critics call it a provocation, a waste of money, a dangerous gamble that makes Europe more of a target rather than less. Others argue it is absolutely essential, especially as conflicts rage in Ukraine and tensions rise elsewhere. For politicians, the shield is both a shield and a sword against external threats, a sword in domestic debates over defense spending. And as elections approach in NATO nations, the shield becomes a talking point. Who supports it? Who opposes it? And what does that mean for Europe's future? Documentaries often deal in facts. But to understand the stakes, we must also imagine. What happens if the shield is tested? Scenario 1, a rogue state launches a missile toward Europe. NATO's radar detects it. Interceptors fire. The missile is destroyed in midair. Civilians are saved. Scenario 2. Russia launches a saturation strike, dozens of missiles at once. The shield intercepts some, but others get through. Cities are damaged. Retaliation begins. The shield holds, but at a terrible cost. Scenario 3. The shield never fires. Its very existence deters enemies from ever pulling the trigger. Billions spent, but lives saved through prevention. The truth is, NATO hopes the third scenario is the only one that ever plays out. What comes next? Already, NATO is exploring space-based sensors to track missiles from orbit. Directed energy weapons, lasers capable of striking missiles at the speed of light. Artificial intelligence to predict launches before they happen. The shield is not the end, it is the beginning of a new era of defense. One where technology evolves faster than treaties, where deterrence relies not only on weapons, but on innovation. Act 14, conclusion, a shield or a symbol? And so we return to the question, what is NATO's $2 billion shield really? Is it a genuine defense against missiles? A political symbol of unity? A warning to adversaries? Or perhaps all of the above? What is certain is this: the shield has changed Europe forever. It has altered the calculations of friend and foe alike. And in a world where the line between peace and war grows thinner every year, Europe believes that having a shield, even a costly one, is better than standing exposed. The radars will keep scanning. The interceptors will remain poised. The shield will stand watch. But the true test has not yet come. And until that day, Europe lives in the shadow of its own creation, a shield of hope, fear, and billions of dollars. If you found this documentary eye-opening, like this video, share it with friends, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the realities behind global defense. Because in a world where headlines move fast, you deserve the full story.